Rising interest rates can't stop the strong Aussie housing market. Former Liberal Senator David Van urged to quit politics over sexual harassment allegations, and new research shows that people working from home are less productive, but you can blame their managers for that. It's Monday, the 19th of June, 2023. Welcome to Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael. Love this time of the year. Do you know why?
Because we are approaching the winter solstice.
Oh, well done. You remembered.
Oh, I'm counting down as well, because as soon as we hit that point, it's just like we're on the downhill slope to summer. Is that how you'd say it?
That's sort of it, like some sort of ski analogy there, which is appropriate for winter. And I just think that winter's over. Once we hit that summer solstice, don't worry about the temperature. Winter's over.
Yep, away we go. Now, Sean, if you're an investor or if you're at least interested in investing, it is worth a listen to your interview today. You're speaking with Anto Joseph, the CEO of StroPro.
That's right. Lovely fella, Anto. We initially start talking about what's going on in the US and Japan, but we kind of quickly morph into some of the clients that Anto works with, and a lot of those are high net worth individuals, rich people investing their money. And we talk about where they are investing their money. And Michael, it's not equities and it's not bonds. It's somewhere different. Well worth a listen.
Oh, I love the way that you're teasing us with that, Sean.
Yeah.
It is worth sticking around for. But the main story this morning, Sean, there might be talk of much higher interest rates and even a recession, but that isn't stopping the housing market. Well, I suppose not yet. Anyway, auction clearance rates over the weekend, above 70% for the second consecutive week, despite all of this negativity around.
And there were nearly 2,000 homes going to auction, which is about double the amount of a week earlier. Of course, a week earlier was the King's holiday in many states, so that dampened some of the auction numbers. But still, nearly 2,000 houses going up. Pretty good. CoreLogic's preliminary clearance rate was 72.5%, which is about the same as a week earlier. There were also anecdotal reports of a spike in the number of bidders. CoreLogic said the Sydney clearance rate was 74.5%, down a touch from a week ago. In Melbourne, nearly 73% of homes under the hammer were sold. It was the busiest capital city. There was 863 homes up for sale. Adelaide's clearance rate was just under 68%. Canberra was just over 70%. And Brisbane came in at 66%.
Sean, surely this is a bit odd, right? This must defy expectations, because the rate rises that everyone's talking about, they don't seem to be having much of an impact.
Yes, it is worrying. It doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, the full impact of the 12 rates that we've had so far, that impact is still to be felt. And some market economists are talking about at least 2 more rate rises. And we know house prices are rising. It is a bit unusual. Now, Westpac chief economist Bill Evans, he's one who thinks there'll be 2 more rate rises. Last week, he came out and lowered his forecast for economic growth. Bill Evans is, well, you would say a veteran, but he's one of the best economists around. So he's really well worth listening to. 2 more rate rises, slower economic growth. In fact, he reckons the economy will grow by just 0.6% this year, 1% 2024. He said the key driver of the insipid growth outlook is household consumption. The Reserve Bank, it has higher growth forecasts, but it's also worried about household spending. Some economists out there reckon that there's about a 1 in 3 chance that will go into a recession. So all that's going on, yet people are still spending money on housing. It just seems at odds that the economy's slowing, rates are still rising, and people are piling into the auction market.
I don't understand it. I don't even pretend to understand that. Sure.
I don't either. I've spent, just in my career, I have looked at this for many, many years, and it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. The Australian housing market is incredibly strong, and it always has been. The fear is that for 30 years that we've been having lower interest rates effectively, like falling and then low interest rates, but we may end up in this period of rising interest rates, and people have just forgotten what that means. And as a result, the housing market could come a cropper. That's kind of what the worst case scenario is, but it's still a possibility, definitely.
How much does talk and discussion of, say, the population rising and this massive influx of people coming into the country over the next 18 months, how much does that do to kind of encourage, say, the FOMO, fear of missing out, and this need to get into the property market quickly? Does just talking about it and all of the coverage about that perhaps contribute to this urgency?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, it certainly contributes to it. I don't know how much it is. That might be the reason. I also think the FOMO, when you hear that house prices in Sydney are down 14 or 15% and in Melbourne they're down 10 or 11%, you think, oh, now's the time to jump into, like without even thinking about the migration stuff. So I think there are a few factors at play here.
And how good is Bill Evans' use of the word insipid to describe
sensational
the growth? I love it. Local markets, Sean, how did we finish up on Friday?
S&P ASX 200 closed up 1% on Friday. It was a very good day. Finished at 7,251 points. That was 5 rises in a row. Mind you, most of them were small apart from Fridays. It's the best run since April, and the market is at its highest level in more than 3 weeks. The energy sector led the way thanks to higher energy prices, while the tech stocks also did pretty well. The healthcare index was the only one of the 11 sub-indices to end the day lower. Santos was up 4%, Woodside Energy 3%, gold company Northern Star rose 4.5%. Among the tech stocks, the best large caps were REA and Xero. They were both up around 3%. Banks were pretty good, led by Commonwealth Bank and Westpac. Iron ore miners underperformed the broader market, and the retailers were mixed.
And what's happening on international markets?
Did you know that, well, Wall Street closed just a touch lower over the weekend, right? And the news late last week, inflation figures came in at about 4%, lower than thought. Good news there. Also, jumping consumer sentiment in the US. All that's good. But really, Michael, what I want to talk to you about is that the markets are closed tonight. Did you know that? For the Juneteenth holiday. Do you know what the Juneteenth holiday is?
No, but it's, if I'm honest, I don't really understand what it's for, but I've seen so much more about it over the last couple of years.
Oh, you're a genius. The first was in 2021, so it's not like a long time holiday. This is only the third Juneteenth holiday. What it is, President Joe Biden signed legislation in 2021 to make June the 19th a federal holiday. It's the 12th federal holiday in the US, and it basically goes back to June 1865, which was the day the last enslaved people in the United States learned that they were free.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is amazing. And so that is today, June 19.
Yeah, Juneteenth.
Okay.
So that's why markets are closed. And just before we leave international markets, oil's up a bit, gold's flat, coal's come off. It had been up late last week, and we saw some of the coal companies do really well locally. It's come off over the weekend, so you may see some of the share prices of the New Hopes, Whitehavens, etc. fall back a bit today. Not that I'm forecasting share markets. No idea on that one. And the Aussie dollar, Michael, not far off 69 US cents. And if you're someone who in a couple of months has to go overseas briefly to the US, I think you'd be pretty happy with that, Michael.
Oh, God.
Go you Aussie dollar.
Oh, you can't just be there barracking for it to actually climb just because you have a brief US trip planned for a couple of months' time.
Self-interest. It's what it's all about.
Yes, apparently so. We'll be back in a moment with the rest of the day's business news. Sean, former Liberal, now Independent Senator David Van has thus far refused to quit politics amid accusations of sexual harassment, but will take leave and will miss the final week of Parliament before the midwinter break.
Over the weekend, Senator Van quit the Liberal Party. That was Saturday, having been kicked out of the party room last week. It follows allegations of sexual harassment by Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe under parliamentary privilege on Wednesday, which Van strenuously denies. Those claims are followed by former Liberal National Party Senator Amanda Stoker, claiming Van had squeezed her bottom. Opposition leader Peter Dutton has said he's also aware of a third complaint against Van from a woman who has not come forward. Dutton said Van should resign from the parliament sooner rather than later and seek the help that he needs. That call to quit was backed by plenty of senior Liberals, including Simon Birmingham, Maurice Payne, Anne Rushton, Michaela Crash was another one. Certainly he's under pressure to go.
Yeah, he sure is. Sean, how about this one? Household electricity prices are set to rise by more than 50% in some cases, as retailers advise of price rises far exceeding the ones in regulated benchmark tariffs announced last month. 50%. Wow, what a hit to the household budget.
Yeah, so I got the email on Friday. Mine is going up more like 20%. And kind of had a bit of a look around as a result of that, getting it myself. It's somewhere going up 50%. These are the ones that you're actually paying. So we're not talking about the wholesale prices that the energy regulator sets. This is actually what I'll be paying 20% more for my tariff, and some will be a lot more. So it was last week AGL Energy advised customers of increases in peak and off-peak tariffs. They'll kick in on July 1, while the average rise for AGL's household customers in New South Wales on variable rate market contracts is 29.7%. The top increase is 51%, according to the Financial Review. Origin Energy also told customers last week of price increases, as has government-owned Red Energy, part of Snowy Hydro, for both electricity and gas. Energy Australia is expected to advise its customers of increases in its market offers within days. Now, the jump in some cases exceeds or even doubles the rises of 20% and 25% for regulated benchmark tariffs approved by the Australian Energy Regulator. They're the wholesale prices. Retail prices, in some cases, are double that level. As you said, 50%. Amazing.
Ouch. And Sean, on a somewhat related kind of topic, AGL says core profit next financial year will be at least double, helped by higher wholesale power prices and an improved performance at power plants.
It triggered a 10% jump in the electricity and gas supply share price on Friday. It hit its highest level in 2 years. However, the company also downgraded its dividend payout policy. New Chief Executive Damien Nick said AGL wants to focus on striking a balance between investing in the opportunities of the transition economy while maintaining a healthy balance sheet, providing shareholder returns. Quite a job, mind you, because AGL is the country's largest emitter of carbon. It has a massive job ahead to transition to a green energy operator. It will involve billions of dollars of investment. Quite the journey. Biggest shareholder is Atlassian founder Mike Cannon-Brookes.
Sean, COVID continues to transmit through the country, with the death toll last year 4 times higher than during the first 2 years of the pandemic.
Almost 10,000 people died last year. That's according to the Bureau of Statistics. Deaths from COVID-19 this year remain high. There's been 1,314 fatalities recorded between January and April, much more than sort of previous horror flu seasons. However, the rate of deaths has also slowed significantly compared to a year ago. Now, according to a story in the Sydney Morning Herald, as of Friday, there were 70 Australians in intensive care with COVID-19. Deaths have been slowly on the rise, from 124 in the week ending May 19 to 205 in the week ending June 16. That's last week ending Friday. Top epidemiologists now believe the 7th wave of COVID is peaking, or at least or perhaps it has peaked or is very close to. Australia had significantly fewer deaths than usual in 2020 when COVID hit, mainly due to the absence of influenza, but then vastly more deaths than usual in 2022 due to COVID and other pandemic-related impacts. In the first couple of months of this year, the Actuaries Institute found that there were 1,500 more deaths than would have been expected if the pandemic hadn't happened. There you go.
PointsBet has given DraftKings, which lobbed a $285 million bid for its business in the United States over the weekend, just 9 days to formalise the offer before it proceeds with another offer.
Yes, so according to the Financial Review, the discussions between the two companies said the ASX-listed wagering group, we're talking about PointsBet here, will continue to recommend shareholders accept an earlier offer, which is a $150 million offer from Florida-headquartered Fanatics. DraftKings, which is a NASDAQ-listed wagering group best known for its fantasy sports contests, lobbed the bid on Friday night. However, it remains indicative and non-binding. Now, PointsBet is the 7th largest sports betting operator in the US. It has really struggled to become profitable, so these bids clearly are very interesting to the board. It's also considering a sale of its Australian operations.
Just a terminology thing here, Sean. Indicative and non-binding just essentially means that it's an intention at this stage, and so PointsBet has said, hey, formalise it in 9 days and make it.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of indicative and non-binding?
Yeah, so basically, you're right. What they want to get to is a non-conditional binding offer, which means that DraftKings must pay the money that they're offering. Not at that point now, but that's what they want to get to.
Okay. No, this is an interesting story and actually pretty worrying, Sean. An artificially generated video of Commonwealth Bank boss Matt Common, a fake video, is promoting large returns on investments on both Facebook and Instagram.
The fake Mr. Common, who has a US accent, says investors will automatically generate profits. Now, the website being promoted is not owned by Commonwealth Bank, but it does demonstrate the challenges facing corporates trying to prevent scammers. The artificially generated reproduction is known as a deep fake, D-E-E-P-F-A-K-E, deep fake, and is increasingly being used to swindle victims. Other Australian leaders being incorrectly represented on these deep fake videos include Meriton Managing Director Harry Triguboff and Visy Chair Anthony Pratt.
I don't want to give too much advice to scammers, Sean, but surely if you're going to go to all the effort of creating a fake video,
I thought the same thing, yes.
Of Matt Common, surely you can find someone to do an Australian accent.
Yeah.
The attention to detail in scams these days is just not what it used to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
Goodness me. Working from home, Sean, last year made the average worker less productive and more anxious, depressed and lonely, according to new academic research.
And a big part of the problem, in fact, the main part of the problem was bad managers.
Really?
Good managers could actually lessen the negative effects, according to the study by researchers from the Australian National University, University of Newcastle and Macquarie University. Broadly, the study found that people are less productive the more they work from home. But once people are working from home for a while, I think they get used to it, I suppose, outcomes start to improve. So companies with more skilled managers and have people working from home for a while end up with much better results in terms of remote and hybrid working. Now, funny thing about this study, better managers, better results. I really do wonder whether that's a work from home issue or not.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, I mean, surely the better the manager, the better the result wherever you're working.
You would think so.
Yes, we probably didn't need a study to tell us that. In international news, Sean, US President Joe Biden has called for new taxes on the wealthy and corporations and warned that Republicans would roll back policies he argued had saved the US economy.
Sounds like an election campaign or a re-election campaign in Joe Biden's case. Over the weekend, he was appearing at a rally with union members in Philadelphia. He contrasted his platform with Donald Trump's agenda. He didn't actually use Donald Trump's name, but he talked about the Republicans' agenda. Very much a sign that Biden wants to put populist economic issues rather than legal controversies at the centre of his pitch for a second term. The president touted his domestic achievements and argued they've fueled economic growth, hot jobs market and gains for the middle class. Now, according to Bloomberg, he cited laws passed during his first 2 years in office, including a climate, health and tax package and new funding for infrastructure and semiconductor manufacturing.
And Sean, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Beijing yesterday morning for a short diplomatic trip as the Biden administration seeks to stabilise what are pretty strained relations between the world's two biggest economies.
Yes, big news really. The top US diplomat, whose previous attempt to visit China in February was scrapped at the last minute when the US revealed that an alleged Chinese spy balloon was floating over American territory, will have a series of meetings with senior officials over the 2 days while he's on the ground. He'll meet the Chinese foreign minister and may also have a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. He'll also deliver remarks at a news conference before he departs. He's actually the most senior US official to visit China in 5 years. I think the world would be a better place if China and the US were getting on better.
Yeah, completely agree. That's very encouraging. But didn't the spy balloon saga blow over quickly?
Blow over, nice. I thought, look, I was waiting for a pun, and I thought in this story, the one thing you will focus on is the spy balloon.
Would you say it was a bit kind of overinflated?
Full of hot air, I thought.
Yeah, oh, well done. Oh, nicely done. Perfect way to finish,
God,
Sean.
I'm turning into you.
You are, and I love it. Up next is the Fear and Greed Daily interview. You are speaking with Anto Joseph, CEO of StroPro. This is a great one for investors.
Sure is. I mean, the part of it that I really like is we talk about what rich people are investing in, and they're rich for a reason, I reckon. So it's always good to know what they're investing in, and it's not bonds and it's not equities.
Yeah, it's worth a listen. It's coming up next in the Fear and Greed playlist on your podcast platform or at fearandgreed.com.au. Also, make sure you check out Fear and Greed the week ahead with our resident economist, Stephen Koukoulas. A massive week last week, and Stephen gives his thoughts on kind of last week and where we're heading. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 19th of June, 2023. Make sure you're following the podcast. Join us online on LinkedIn and Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, basically everywhere. And stay up to date on all the business news with Alexa and your Amazon Echo smart speaker. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play the Fear and Greed podcast, and the latest episode should just start playing. Grab yours now at amazon.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.